I'm Gemma Allen, coming to you from theCUBE studio here at the New York Stock Exchange. This is Mixture of Experts, one of our programs with NYSE Wired. And joining me now is a woman who's going to have a conversation around what happens when buyers no longer have to buy directly from sales teams and can instead buy from a superhuman. Welcome, Amanda Kahlow, CEO and founder of OneMind. Welcome.
Thank you for having me. It's great to be here.
So Amanda, I really want to get into what a superhuman is, for a number of reasons, but first, I want to get into what a superwoman is, and I want to talk a little bit about you. So, you are a third-time founder. You founded a company that is now valued at $5 billion, multi-unicorn. There aren't too many Amandas, especially in the female entrepreneurial space. Talk to me a little bit about you specifically and your journey.
Yeah, so my journey was unexpected and accidental. I grew up below the poverty line. I lived in 18 houses before I was 22 years old, drank powdered milk and block cheese. But I always say that my mom gave us an extraordinary amount of belief in ourselves. And so despite all the challenges and the trauma that I had, I always knew I could do whatever I put my mind to. And I just get an idea and I'm 100% kind of person. If I do something, I'm all fucking in.
I love it.
Am I allowed to say fucking?
So you founded Sixth Sense, which is really around intent data, back in 2012, am I correct?
Correct,
in around that time?
Yep.
I mean, in some respects, even though that was like a little over a decade ago, in tech, it feels like it was a century ago, right? Because we are at the cusp of something so different that is coming at us so fast. You had an exit. You possibly could have lived a very nice life, maybe playing tennis or something, right?
A lot of golf.
Far from the childhood you were reared and all that, but instead you decided to come back with OneMind. Talk to me about like what happened, what changed for you, and what market opportunity you saw.
Yeah, I say, similar to what I was saying before, anything I put my mind to, I do 100%. So when I took time off, on my LinkedIn it said I was permanently on the bench. I played a lot of golf. I gave myself an unachievable goal, had the best round of golf of my life, and said, now what? But really it came down to the market and where we are right now with AI. How could I sit out what's happening in this world and being a part of something that I think we only get this opportunity once in our life. When I had the idea for OneMind to replace, basically what we're doing is replacing sellers with AI, we call them superhumans. It does the job exponentially better than a human. And when I saw in the world and the technology would allow for what the vision was, I just had to be a part of it. And I had to take one more swing. And honestly, I missed the highs. I missed the lows. Like the lows are what make the highs so good. I missed the roller coaster of early days startup, and the culture that you can build. And I look at Sixth Sense as my training grounds for OneMind now, which hopefully will be my legacy.
Wow. So the product itself, it is an AI, a digital twin almost of you was the kind of original concept, right? Which
not of me, but it was we were cloning
of a hustler.
People. Yeah.
Of a hardcore hustler.
I never want to clone myself.
Me neither. That's a
yeah. No, I'm not in the business of cloning Amanda. One is enough for this world.
Likewise, but it is essentially a GTM bot where buyers can go and engage with this sales representative, for say a superhuman, on a variety of topics, right? Ask it questions about the policies around the product, the user experience, etc., etc. Talk me through how AI fundamentally shifts the opportunity to use a superhuman versus, you know, an original, an OG hustler.
Yeah, so there's two places that we look at that would juxtapose. Like there was the world of chatbots that we have on websites that are just basically just there to qualify and book a meeting. And that's the way that most people would go to market, as they put those on the website. Then you have humans that go in the loop. But if you actually think about the buying process and put yourself in the shoes of buyers, the journey that we send them through is atrocious. We say, go onto Google or the LLM, do your search. You end up on a website, and you look around, and you've got thousands of pages to find what resonates with you. And then you go to a chatbot and talk to it, and it's just there to try to get you to a junior SDR human. Then you talk to this junior human who's only there to qualify you, to pass you to an AE, another human, who's only there to give you the full pitch. Then when you have technical questions, you get passed to a sales engineer, and then a solutions engineer, and then you buy and you get to a customer success person. Are you exhausted? I'm exhausted. That process is atrocious, and what we do to buyers is really awful. So our thesis is, what if we can compound that all together? And a contextual graph that understands everything about the buyer everything about the product, can have an empathetic conversation, solution sell, remember past conversations, and do it better than a human. So it's not a deterministic set of rules. It's using reasoning like humans do in our brains to know, hey, I'm talking to Gemma today. She's exponentially through her process. This is where she is. This is what her needs are. These are the questions that are going to resonate and can sell better than a human and then can do the actual actions better than a human. So yeah, we were leaning into the concept that we are replacing humans across go-to-market. It's a challenging thing to say, and it's a world that I'd rather be a part of driving the bus than get run over by the bus. And I think it's the most humane thing that we can do is to share with people what's actually coming.
So in larger organizations where sales structures are quite complex, right? There are multiple touch points. You know, you have that entry demo stage.
Yep.
Then you might grow the account, so you have like your designated AE. And oftentimes, again, like I worked in, I guess, in a subsidiary of a sales organization for quite a while, right? There is an element of like knowledge is power in the sales process, and relationships are power too, right? In terms of who owns those connections.
Yep.
In this model, in some ways, it kind of democratizes that because it's really one experience until a certain point. What is that point? Like, what is the point by which human connection takes back over?
Yeah, it's a really great question because, you know, the biggest pushback we get is people buy from people, like you said. And there's a relationship and there's a sale that people are looking for that trust. And if you break it down, when I think about why is it people buy from people? Do they? And they want a relationship with their salesperson. I'm like, do people actually want a relationship with your salesperson, or do you want a relationship with your coworkers, your family, your friends, your network? You don't, nobody gets excited to wake up in the morning and say, oh my gosh, I have a demo with this salesperson today. Said no one ever. Then it comes down to trust. So people feel they trust humans more than they trust AI. Now, the reason for that is because we've seen so many broad cases where AI hallucinates, right? Doesn't say the right thing. We don't know that we can trust it. However, when you're building application-specific AI and you put it on tight guardrails, that trust and that chasm is going to shift. And when people realize they're going to get a better answer from the AI than they get a human, buyers are going to demand to talk to an AI and not talk to a human. And one of my favorite things, when people ask me, well, does your AI hallucinate? I'm like, do your sellers hallucinate? Do humans hallucinate? And do they do so nefariously, knowingly, to get the deal done? So I think we're coming into that point in the evolution of this technology and what we can do and where buyers are in their journey. But when buyers realize they're going to get a better response and they don't have to say the same, repeat themselves 15 times, the handoff from one human to another human is awful. And we have the best of intentions as humans, but we forget. I'm on 10 sales calls a day. And I forget what we talked about last time, and I'm trying to read my notes, and I just go with the core pitch because I can't remember. I have the best of intentions, but I don't remember. And so that's what happens. And so when you can put an AI in the mix, it can remember. It can pull in context. It knows what you're trying to solve for. So it takes you to the next stage. So you're never having to repeat yourself, and you can get deeper in the process. And it can do something that we try really hard to solution sell and understand our buyers' needs, but we don't do a great job of it, right? So we don't really understand the nuances of the business challenges that we're trying to solve for, but the AI can and can do it exponentially better than a human.
Talk to me about where the gap for this is most visible, because, you know, when you say, do people like to talk to their salespeople? I guess at a certain level in an organization where you're golfing or you're going to the Ryder Cup or whatever, right? I'm just thinking of the Irish example coming up. You know, people do like that. They like the ego of that experience, right? But for small businesses, for like mid-market players, it's difficult. It's difficult to have a sales team and also to compete on like the same comp structures. You know, you're in a, like, it's a typical scenario, right? The middle guy gets squeezed. But, you know, in this model, are you saying that like potentially you can plug and play this into your, you know, it's an API where you can just into your organization and it can kind of take over your kind of sales execution for you? Is that like, who's that appealing to the most right now, I guess?
There's different places. So we do everything from replace like the SDR, the more junior person. We replace the sales engineer, the solutions engineer, who's doing the deep technical discovery, the legal questions, really understanding the business model. Now the AE, which you're saying, they're the ones who bring you to the golf tournament.
Yeah.
In fact, we just brought 15 of our prospects to the Super Bowl a few weeks ago, right?
Wow.
So we still believe in events and high touch, like with enterprise and a C-suite executive. And so I think there is a balance between where the humans will come in and have that high-touch human relationship. And that's when humans are still buying. So what we haven't talked about is what happens when AI is the buyer.
I know, interesting.
Right? So right now, humans are more the buyer, and we're moving into a world where the selling can be done by AI. But when it shifts, and when it's agent to agent and AI to AI, there's no more Super Bowl. So I don't think the world is there yet, but we're absolutely moving in that direction. And then to your other point about the mid-market and smaller companies, one of the first things I always challenge our prospects and customers in the world to think about, where is there no business model for a human? So you have things like your PLG motion, product-led growth companies, who have free trials and have small ASPs, like small ticket items that they're selling, and they can't put a human in the mix. It's a $500 deal or a $1,000 deal. There's no business model to have a human pick up the phone and call that person because your margins would go out the window, right? So what if you could put a human-like experience right when somebody signs up? Let me show you how to use the product. Let me walk you through this. Let me move you from free trial to paid, right? So that's the big thing, is like with so many companies come in, you have hundreds of millions of people that download the free trial and 1 to 3% convert. What if I can change that 1% to 6%? What would that do for the business? And it's remarkable. So a lot of companies on the enterprise side, we're going to work with the SDR in the early stage will be the solutions engineer. And then on like a PLG or mid-market type of product, let us be the full salesperson. Let us take this all the way to close. Let us move them along their journey, onboard them, upsell them. Wow. Share about new products, new technologies that you have when you can't have the conversation because we can't scale humans. Humans have time, capacity, and recall limitations. And humans only scale, and they scale at a linear growth model. And this gives you the ability to scale exponentially.
And are there industry verticals you're seeing where this is having like a very clear use case, like an immediate low-hanging fruit from the perspective of you selling in?
Yeah, I mean, my world, just to be fully transparent, I know a lot of people in the tech world. So those are the first like doors that we're knocking on and talking to other tech companies, especially like your traditional SaaS company. They are experiencing a squeeze like never before, right? So growth costs twice as much to acquire a new customer, up to like $5 to acquire $1 of revenue, which is wild to think about, like what we're doing. And growth still, you know, in the New York Stock Exchange is valued 3x that of efficiency costs, right? So in a world where you're trying to grow versus just cut costs, I think it's really important. And not only does it cost twice as much to acquire a customer, and the growth is shrinking, but the growth is down, you know, we're down to 8%. I had a CEO tell me the other day that he was proud of an 8% growth rate. I was like, what world do we live in where that is exciting, right? So, wow. I mean, some companies are just happy to be flat right now. So we can't, the traditional model was throw a bunch of humans at it and let's buy growth. Can't do that anymore. They're too expensive. They're too resource intense. We have to do it a new way. So the world, the opportunity right now demands a new way of doing things, and it just so happens that AI is here to allow us to think about the playbooks differently.
Talk to me a little bit about the tech, because in the world of AI right now, it does feel as though it's moving literally at the speed of sound. You can't keep up with the different releases across the frontier models. It's hard to know who has any sort of like marginal advantage in any one space. I mean, we hear a lot about Anthropic and enterprise, etc., right? But broadly speaking, it just seems like a lot of noise. When you're building in that space, like, are you building a lot of proprietary stuff? Are you building on top of these models? You know, how are you, from a technical execution perspective, staying just abreast of what's happening? Like, is that an ongoing challenge?
Yeah, I mean, we have a whole team dedicated to understanding the latest, right, and using the latest and greatest models and which ones we should use. We always optimize for 3 things. We optimize for accuracy. Obviously, we want the answers. If she's going to go in and sell, she has to be accurate. It has to be, we bring the cost down, and then speed, latency. So how fast? If I'm having a conversation with an AI and it waits 10 seconds to respond, that's not going to work, right? So in a lot of those areas, so we are using the foundational models, but we're using it agnostically. We use OpenAI, we use Anthropic, we use Google, we use the multiple at different turns. So if I'm asking, and then we have our own small, we call them like small language models, where if she's just answering the question of, you know, how are you, how was your day? I don't need to go ping OpenAI, I don't need to go ping the foundational models to get that response back. Or if I'm on a call, because she joins calls, she joins Zoom calls, Teams, Google, Meet. In that scenario, we have to build models to know when is it her turn to talk. So those are things that the foundational models aren't going to help us with. Yeah. So the speaker diarization, the understanding, if you're speaking slow, I'm a fast talker, but if you're speaking slow, maybe she should slow down as well. So there's a lot of research that says that people really resonate with people who sound and look and talk like them. So we're building a lot of around like the emotion. And when you say, oh yeah, I'm going to buy, but you actually mean you're not going to buy, how does she turn that into, oh, that was actually a negative cue, even though she said she was going to do it. So there are pieces of the equation that we're solving ourselves. We're also solving the ability to give the live demo. So she can, on the Zoom, pull up a virtual machine, click around, share the screen, say, hey, no, you're in the wrong spot. Go here, do this. Those are the things that are super exciting for me. So yes, we use the foundational models. Yes, we use some other things for face and voice. We do some of our own. It's a mix. But we just want to stay ahead. I think this world right now where anyone can build anything, back in my days at 6 Sense, we were a culture of no, in the sense we had to stay focused. We had to stay clear to our roadmap and stay on that journey. And it was, no, this is what we're doing because we can't afford, or we don't have the time and the resources of our engineering team to say yes to anything new. I think it's a complete shift today where we have to be a yes culture. It's almost like we're moving into a services business that then looks, after we put it to market and put it to use for a customer, how do we then turn it into a product? So it's a completely new mind F for myself to think about, like, I've got to lead this company in a very different way if I'm going to stay ahead and I'm going to win, and I'm going to ring the bell out here one day.
Oh, well, I hope so. I'll certainly be watching.
When, not if.
I'll be there with the champagne on the sideline. So tell me, you just raised, well, in total 40 million. You're here actually because you're meeting with some of the LPs at Primary. I know Cassie Young is a big fan of yours.
Oh,
that's how I first came across you on LinkedIn. I read a post from Cassie and I was like, I need to meet this woman. She sounds so cool. But talk to me a little bit about the investment process. Like, I mean, I guess that was an A.
Yep.
I guess you're now going to spend that cash, right? And put that cash into the business, optimize. But what's ahead from the perspective of investment and I guess the next 12 months?
Yeah, I mean, we're experiencing some of that really exciting AI growth. Like I was just recently looking at our growth numbers in 18 months being in market. We've been around for 2 years, but been in market for 18 months. And without sharing our numbers, we are where I was at 6 Sense at year 5.
Wow.
18 months in. And similar to any other go-to-market tech company today. And the really exciting thing about what we're doing, which of course we all love Lovable and a lot of other AI companies have massive growth curves. However, there's a lot of experimental AI happening in those companies, so there's a ton of churn. On our side, we have enterprise deals. They're 12-month contracts. They're paid up front. They're 6-figure to 7-figure deals. There's no churn. We had 211% NRR last year. So people are renewing and they're growing. Within 30 days of going live, they're expanding to an additional Superhuman. As soon as they see that this actually can work, they're like, oh wait, let's add another one. Let's add another one in a different place across the journey of their life cycle of their customer. So it's super exciting. So my goal right now is, I'm taking that money, of course, be mindful of it, of where we're spending, but a lot of it is going on the engineering and the resources just to stay ahead of the curve and stay ahead of the market. And like I said, build to what our customers need and build this services organization within a SaaS framework or AI framework.
Well, Amanda, I am very excited at the thought of watching a female ring the bell one day, so I will certainly be rooting for you from the sidelines. Thanks so much for coming on theCUBE.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Less than 1% of enterprise founders are women, so I have an obligation to women to be successful, so I'm really excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
I'm Gemma Allen, coming to you from our studio here at the New York Stock Exchange. This is Mixture of Experts, one of our segments with NYSE Wired. Thanks so much for watching.